Hey everybody, Tracy Brown here, your somatic nutrition dietitian and body image specialist. And so I want to make sure that you saw Monday's video. So Monday, March 18th, 2019, because this will also help you with this video. So make sure you've watched that one. And I have a whole series from January 2018 around like a 4-part series around body image. So please make sure that you've watched that along with this video today, because all of these things, when you start to combine all these tools and all these elements, will help you with this issue. So the phrase I put in the opening here was, "I feel better thinner." That is a phrase that I hear from every single person that I've ever worked with in some kind of way, regardless of weight. You could weigh in the 300s, you could weigh 80 pounds. And I've heard this. And so when people of all shapes and sizes and ages have told me this phrase, whatever gender, I know there's something deeper. And I want you to at least be willing to entertain me here for a little while and stay with me here around maybe some of the reasons that we feel that way before you go and decide to go on a diet or go back to restricting. All right, so I'm not going to make this video too long, because if I get going too far, this will be a 3 or 4 hour video. I could talk about every little nuance and still not cover it all. But I'm going to give us a summary today, and I do plan on turning this into a, I don't know if it's going to be ebook or if it's just going to be a longer blog series, but I think this is super, super important. And the people who work with me individually, they know that we talk about this in many different kinds of ways over many different hours. So it's not something that you're just going to watch this one video and feel like, okay, I've got it and I know what to do. That's not the point. It's really about, here is the opening to this. So when people say, "I feel better thinner," and I'm just going to use it from the perspective of someone who doesn't match the cultural ideal. I'm going to start there first. And I say this with 100% the most understanding and empathy possible, is that of course we do. If you're not the cultural ideal, or even if you don't, even if you know that like some people will tell you like in it always comes from a good place, but it's still trying to make you feel better, or maybe they really feel this way, but you just don't see, like, oh, you don't need to lose weight, but you still feel like, I just feel better thinner. So let's say you're one of these people that like nobody else is telling you, you're not getting stigma. I mean, you're not like at a place where everybody's telling you that like, you should gain weight, but you're not at a place where everybody's telling you should lose weight. You're just in this space, where it's like, you're not really facing a lot of stigma, but you still feel like, I would feel better. Of course you do. We are all in the same disgusting soup of there's only one right way to be in this cultural ideal. And it's just a perpetual trigger to our wounds around, like, if I could just be smaller, then I would fill in the blank, feel less, have less responsibility, feel so overwhelmed by things, feel like I can't do anything right, not feel as lovable, not feel as worthy. And I know I'm just kind of cutting to the root, into the heart of the chase here, but it's like, I know that we have our adult selves knowing that, like, we know, like from my video on Monday, I talked a lot about, like, we have this one species here, these are us humans, just like species, dogs, and there's so much genetic diversity within that species. It seems like it is common sense, but because we don't really we live in an upside down world, where it's like we've been so conditioned to believe that there's only one right body type to be, that we can't see the reality, which is like, well, of course there's genetic diversity. Of course not everybody's supposed to be thin. Of course not everybody's going to be in a larger body. There's going to be a lot of variation. That's the way it is. It always has been. It always will be. But when we live in this upside down world of like, only one body type is acceptable, when you see that enough, and you see that enough, and you see that for generations, you start to believe it's true. And we get that all twisted and combined with value and worth. And it also gets tied up in a time where it's like maybe we didn't feel as bad and we happen to also be in a smaller body. So we get that all confused and conflated, and we feel like it would be better to be thinner. And in those moments, we forget about the consequences. That you could do that. You would have to employ probably a lot of strategies that you probably don't want to, and live a life you don't really want to live to do that. And the likelihood is that all it's going to happen is that you may or may not get number to what doesn't feel so good. And then now you're locked in with a really nasty struggle with food and weight, So there's that. And I just want you to think about well, what is it that I'm after then that I think this thinness will get me? And that's the question for everybody to be answering for themselves today is what do I think I'm going to get with that thinness? Now, for those of you who are in larger bodies and do have to face the crapola of stigma, I don't blame you for not wanting to be stigmatized or be in a group that is stigmatized or a body size that is. I don't blame you 1 second. And I get it. And that's not up for me to decide what you do about it. But I also know that I see a lot of people learning how to live in a world like this and really be solid in who they are and live a fulfilled life. And they don't have to get thinner to do that. So I'm just saying that out of hope because I see it all the time, and my eyes are wide open and always looking for it. And that might be something for you to think about too. Is I'm not saying that there aren't, some challenges to having had your body change because of life circumstances, illnesses, attempts with dieting, whatever the circumstances. That's not really the point. It's I know there are things that we have to face sometimes in bodies that feel different, that are different sets of discomforts that you have to navigate. And again, I don't blame you for wanting to change those just by changing the body. I totally get it. But we also know and have to think about counting the cost. Is it truly that you're going to feel better thinner? And what is it that's gonna feel better? And that's just the question. That's not an imperative from me to say you shouldn't feel how you feel. It's just really counting the cost of diet culture and how much that's embedded in this belief that I'll feel better thinner. So it's something to think about. And for those of you on the other end of the spectrum around being in a smaller body and wanting to be thinner, I hear you. I hear you. I work with a big variety of shapes and sizes of people, and from those clients that are on the other end of the spectrum of being in smaller bodies, and either you recognize that you are or you're not, we need to get really, really clear about what you think you're getting with this ever shrinking or desire to ever want to shrink. Is this about a message, a proclamation, about disappearing? What is this about for you? Get really clear about that, because then you can make a decision. You can feel like you actually truly have a choice versus that's your only option to feel safe or to feel heard or whatever's going on. Okay, and I know that's not always easy to know or discern on your own, and maybe it is. Maybe you already know, and we just need support through that. So all the scenarios I discussed, they're all real, and they can be real. You could, and they could all be mixed up together. There can be different parts. There can be mixed and matched, and or it changes. But just be really curious when you say I feel better thinner. I just want you to take some time today and take the video I did Monday. Go back on my YouTube or search here on Facebook and all my body image videos. I don't really hold much back, I'll be honest. There's some nuances that I just can't talk about in 10 minutes. But I am giving you the bigger picture summary of what needs to be addressed and what really needs to be taken time to look at, because in our culture, we've mixed up the language of emotional expression and of having a window of tolerance for our struggles. We've mixed that all up with the language of food and body. If I just get the right body and get the right food, then I'll be safe, I'll be fine, I won't feel these things, I won't have to deal with these things. versus, food and body are over here, and they're not magic pills to fix everything or to soothe everything. They might give us some relief for a while, but we're still going to have things to do, bills to pay, and honestly, wounds to heal. So if you're considering going back to diet culture, going back to some behaviors that you don't really want to be doing, take a second, take a breath, and I want you to know that you do have a choice. I hope this video was helpful. Please pass it along to people that you know that just really need to hear this. Like, they can't go back on one more diet, that it's not going to work. They might really, 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 really want to lose weight, but that's not really what they're looking for. It feels like that's the thing that's going to fix things, because that's all we've ever been told. Or that's maybe all we feel like that maybe that's all that you feel like that you're good at. And I just want to let you know that's a lie. And if probably I talk to you for 5 minutes, I'll be able to mirror back to you about 10 different ways I see, like, you are so much more valuable than you give yourself credit for. And I see a lot, so I want you to be able to see it too. All right, so thank you all so much for watching, and if you have questions and concerns, please message me or put it in the comments below, and I will be there to address it. So thank you so much, and take care.